All right, we would like to do next is provide you with some information. So Ms. Hill referenced this in her reason why we're moving from December 8th to December 1st, board meeting coming up, and it's regarding the stormwater utility fee. Mr. Salters has pulled some slides from the county's presentation and wanted to share those with you tonight about the potential impact of this fee on our schools. And so, Mr. Salters, would you like to begin, please?
Sure. So this, I'll tell you, this is information that I'm gleaning from presentations that consultants have done for county council. So I'll kind of do a disclaimer at the beginning. If there are any inaccuracies, I apologize, but I'm doing these just to the best I've understand the calculations and things that they're using, and from multiple conversations with various sources that involved in this project. But Lexington County Council has begun entertaining the idea of a stormwater utility fee. And so just as background, as Dr. Little mentioned, I did pull some information from some presentations that have been done. The county basically, to their statements, have said that they have about $114 million worth of backlog for system-wide stormwater repairs. And you say, what is stormwater? What does that even mean? So, that's the culverts that you see around on the sides of the roads, the different pipes, concrete pipes under driveways. The drainage things you see in parking lots and things like that. All of that stuff makes up a storm drainage system. And so those things need repair over time. And we certainly understand and support and recognize the need for that repair in the county. And so they have a backlog of about $114 million. There's several community flooding projects that they list, and so that's a $76 million problem. And then they indicate that these issues are increasing at a rate of about $5 million per year. And the problem is they only have about $3 million a year in their annual budget to allocate towards stormwater management. So you can see that math doesn't work very well. The problem continues to get away from them. And again, I want to reiterate, as part of this presentation, we are acknowledging that this is an issue for the county and it needs to be addressed. And so, in looking at what the proposal that they have entertained does, they're establishing a stormwater utility fee. The fee is suggested initially to be constant for a 5-year period of time. The fee is based on the impervious square footage that you have on your site. So if you think about your house, you think about the roof structure that you have, you think about your driveway. If you have an outbuilding, you would include that roof structure as well. And you calculate the square footage of that space. In our situation, you think about this building, the parking lots that are adjacent to the building, the outbuilding that we have out there, those roof structures, you calculate those square footages of the impervious surface. They estimate a monthly fee of $6.50. In their original proposal, it had a range of $4 all the way up to $8. But they landed on $6.50, and that creates an equivalent residential unit. For residences, primary residences, your home, my home, the fee would be divided into 3 tiers, and you can see that there. 200 to 2,000 square feet of impervious surface, you pay a half of ERU, or $39 a year. It's $6.50 times that, and that equates to $39 a year. 2,000 to 6,000 square feet, you pay a full ERU, or $78 a year. And then over 6,000, you pay 2 ERUs, and that's $156 a year. So that's for a residence. The commercial fee is based on an average ERU of 2,800. And then they also have a kind of a statement in there that's a little hard to follow because you don't really know exactly how this works, but there are potential credits that you can acquire for non-single family residential up to 50%. So basically anybody who's not a single family home can get some kind of credits, potentially. And that's for well-designed and maintained storm structures. That's for approved stormwater education programs. And there's a couple other things that qualify that might get you a credit on this fee or against this fee. So I'll give you a couple of examples. The impact on Lexington School District 1. I just took Fort Spine Elementary School, one of our smaller elementary schools. We have approximately 252,925 square feet of impervious surface on that campus. You take that and you divide it by 2,800, that comes up to 90.33 ERUs. You round to the nearest 0.5, so that's 90.5 times the 650. Gives you $588.25 a month, or around $7,000 a year that we would pay in a fee to the county for Fort Spine Elementary School. River Bluff High School, probably it is our largest facility for impervious surface. You do the math on that, and you can follow it. It ends up being close to $50,000 annually. Now, again, I haven't applied any discounts to this because I don't know how these discounts work. It's kind of unclear about that. But even potentially, let's say that we did get a discount, that's still $25,000 a year for River Bluff High School that we would pay in a fee, basically for stormwater management.
And I would say that all of our schools have done a really good job on mitigating stormwater, and that we comply with what we need to do when we build these big facilities, correct?
Right. So
So we're paying for people that haven't done that.
Well, here's a couple of examples. So the upper left, this is the new Lexington Middle School site. So these are large underground detention pipes. And so this system is designed to capture stormwater. That after we create all this impervious surface, it captures the stormwater, it controls the flow of that stormwater, because ultimately when you build a building or create impervious surface, you cannot increase the velocity of the water leaving the site than it was before you did what you did. And so that's what these structures do. They slow the velocity of the water down so that it doesn't damage other homes. You can't redirect it. I can't be draining into this nice, natural drainway here and then redirect it so that I dump it on somebody's house over here. That's what you do with stormwater management. This is the picture I just showed you at White Knoll High School of an above ground storm detention system. It's hard to see here, but this is the new Pelion Middle School site in the back. This is a large storm detention above ground system that's similar to this, but it has a series of like four other systems for infiltration because in Pelion there's not a real watershed because there's just sand everywhere, and so water goes down, it doesn't go out. And so what the strategy here is you collect it and then you let it seep over into these other ponds, and it will drain and infiltrate into the ground. So it's just a different design of system. This happens to be back at River Bluff High School back in probably 2011. Large underground storage system being put in place. So, Ms. Smith, to your point, we do a lot for stormwater management. Now, you look at some of our campuses that were built in the early 80s, they don't have this extensive stormwater development because the stormwater requirements in the county were not as extensive as they are now. So as they evolved, so too have our construction designs. But we take great care on our campuses to control stormwater. And every time we do an addition or make any modifications to a driveway, we have to go in and basically upfit that facility for stormwater management. So a good example, Lexington Elementary School, we just put an underground detention system in because we created a new driveway for parent drop-off. So that happens on a regular basis. So you look at our district-wide estimates. Now we estimated this, so they're going to have probably a slightly different number than we do because they have some satellite imagery that they'll use to create this, to get these numbers. And we used the county's GIS website to come up with these numbers. So we have about 17,139,695 square feet of impervious surface in the county. I will tell you that I cannot think of a larger entity in Lexington County than Lexington School District 1. We will have the most impervious surface in the county. I reached out to the hospital and we've been talking some, and they don't have, they have less than a third of that number, or right at a third of that number. So we're significant. We are the largest impact in this fee for one entity. So when you do the calculations, you can see you end up with, about a $40,000 monthly fee for our facilities. And so, that ends up being, ironically, $477,477 annually. So it's almost a $500,000 annual fee that we will begin being assessed on the October tax bills this coming year, should this move forward. Obviously, to make up this revenue loss, you, the school board, are limited by Act 388 in how you can offset this revenue. And so it would be a major impact on businesses, because should you have to raise taxes or raise millage to cover this cost, you have the restriction of only being able to raise that millage on businesses and 6% assessed property. So you couldn't affect homeowners when you do that. So our recommendation, and we've sent an email to county council, and I know that there's been other conversations as well, but our recommendation is not to do away with the fee. Again, we recognize the need, for stormwater management and for repairs to the systems and so forth. Our recommendation is to exempt any taxing authority within Lexington County, because essentially the county council is applying a tax to another taxing authority that will then have to apply a tax to offset the tax that was applied to you. The way we would recommend doing that would be to modify the ERU multiplier to make up for the lost revenue. So you take the $477,477 and you divide that out, and you increase the $6.50 multiplier by whatever the number needs to be when you back out the school districts in Lexington County and their contributing revenue, and apply that to the multiplier. That would spread the impact over all taxpayers, because remember, the county is applying this to every home, every business, every church, and currently every school. If we have to make up the revenue, we can only apply it to businesses and 6% assessment, okay? So by doing it this way, it would spread the impact that they need for their stormwater management over everyone involved. So that's the recommendation that we've put forward, and again, the timeline for this, they had first reading November 10th. They passed it with a 6-1 vote, and November, Dr. Little, when was the chamber meeting? Was it the 14th, or was it it may have been the 11th? I think it was the 11th. The next day, the chamber met, and they sent out an information flyer about this, and I think since that time, there's been a lot of conversations. I sent an email to the council before first reading, delineating our position, and so they've heard a lot of feedback since then. But the public hearing and second reading will be held on December 8th. And you'll have the opportunity at the public hearing, just like we do here, where you'll have 3 minutes, and they'll have a for and against sign up, and you'll be able to speak, regarding this tax. And so, and then the third reading would be the final reading, and that would happen December 22nd. So it's very important. I think that we get involved in this. I know there's been some communication with superintendents, and and some of you have had some conversations with other board members and so forth. Again, I want to reiterate, we understand the problem, we understand the need, but it's not appropriate to put you, the school board, in a position to have to raise a tax for something that's been taxed on you. If you study property tax legislation, similar concept, we don't pay property taxes, and there's a reason for that. And so in my mind, it's a very similar concept. So with that, that's kind of a summary of the problem or the issue going on. So happy to answer any questions for you.
Well, and the fact that we mitigate storm drainage problems when we build a facility, I think that's part of why we should be exempt from it.
Yes, sir. We spend a significant amount of money in site development. Now, to the credit of the structure here, I understand that there will be a credit annually for that mitigation, upwards of up to 50% of the tax, but we spend significantly more than that on site development to mitigate stormwater per the requirements of the county, which are, and again, those are all good requirements, because as property owners, you don't want, someone damaging your property. You want that water flow controlled. So,
When you talk to Mr. Murgo and some of the other council members, are they aware of the impacts on the school districts? Did they realize what you just explained to us? Did they realize the extent it was going to impact our school district and the other school districts?
they do now.
Okay.
Well, and I spent some time over the last week talking to board members from the other 4 Lexington County school districts, and we're going to work together as a united front to articulate to county council the impact this has on school districts. There's really not any mention in any of the proposal or anything about Act 388's existence and just how that plays into this idea. And so we're gonna, we've got a Zoom meeting this Thursday afternoon. If anybody else wants to attend, let me know. I'll send you the link. But the other 4 Lexington County school districts and us, we're gonna work together. We're gonna send a letter, and then also as many of us as possible can attend on the 8th at the public hearing and speak. I talked to 3 of our county councilmen last week, and I think the pushback has been swift and strong on this from a lot of different groups. So I think that they're getting a little squirrely about it, but I think that means that we just need to keep persist on this and show up on the 8th and let them know, because evidently there is one particular council person that's trying to push this through and get it done as quickly as possible. And so we just need to encourage the folks that are listening to us to respond and work with the school districts to make this a little bit, because like Mr. Salter said, the stormwater maintenance and management in the county is woefully behind. Anytime you ride down any street when there's a heavy rain, you can see that. And we want to help, but not at the expense of our local businesses. So let me know at 3:30 on Thursday if y'all are interested in attending another Zoom. I'll be happy to send you the link.
Was there any discussion with county council about alternative sources of revenue? Did they investigate council of government? Did they investigate, a use tax, something along those lines, to your knowledge?
I can't speak for all the things they did or did not investigate. I'm on the Central Midlands Council of Governments Board. I'm not aware of any requests coming across related to that, but that doesn't mean it hasn't come through. But I'm not sure what other avenues they've looked at.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a gigantic hole to try to dig your way out of. I mean, they've got $190 million in essentially debt, if you will,
Right.
to stormwater. I can tell you when we build a building for our office, say we spend $1.5 million on it, about 150,000 of it goes towards stormwater. By the time we put in the plans, put in the actual the work itself, and with the whole idea in mind that we're not impacting the environment any more afterwards than we were before.
Right.
We built the structure. And so it really does kind of sting a little bit to then have to have a recurring payment for that when we did all the work up front. That's a tough one. Things have gotten a little bit tougher here on businesses. Town of Lexington actually enacted, some recent changes for building use requirements, and those fees went up significantly. And so that's why you may see a few more empty buildings around town. I mean, it's certainly a potential. I've spoken to a few business owners who had plans to come into town but elected not to. And so we would even see the same thing. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but it does add up by the time you factor in your property tax and everything else. It's definitely, it can move the needle for some businesses, so.
Thank you, Mr. Salters. I also wanted to let everyone know that this is on the County of Lexington's website. Their previous meeting, it's about an hour and a half, and they have an extensive, detailed presentation.
Yeah, and their official presentations are linked out there as well, the PowerPoints and everything. So if you want to see some of that information, it's a good point. Thank you.